Yep.
Well, hello. Welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, joined with hubby.
Hi, Kev.
And don't forget, if you haven't cleaned your pins in a while, maybe it's time to do so. Today we're going to work on blurry background, but right now you see two photos up that I wanted to get up so we could quickly talk about it. What you're seeing here, oops, on the left is where we ended the live stream last week. And this photo here is where I stopped last night. I just wanted you guys to be able to see how much work I've done on it. Did quite a bit, had to fix some stuff, do a little sanding, come back, reburn in. The face is darker than it is on screen, but it's still not as dark as I want, as we can see from our reference photo over here. Hey Andrea, hey Sonia, hey Sheila, hey Carmen, hey Wanda. So I just wanted to show you, you gotta keep going. And it may not look like it, but the tree is darker. I also detailed more the bottom part. If you look at last week's photo, it may be harder to see. I have to remember that there's going to be a lot of white in that area, that I'm going to use the pan pastel and probably a paintbrush to lay in the pastel in order for it to be blurry the way I want it to be. I don't know why it's okay. Anyway, so that's where, this is where it is right now. You guys can't see it, but what I need to do, because we're going to work on the blurry background, we're going to work on the top of the blurry background, but I actually need to wipe down at least from the head down with denatured alcohol. So that's what we're going to do first. Let me get these photos out of your way so we can get to work. There we go. Hey, Miss Bear. So I'm going...
Oh, Sonia's computer was hacked.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Sonia.
She needs a timeout.
I believe it. I understand that. I really do. Okay, so denatured alcohol. I'm trying to remember what it's called in other countries. It is called methylated spirits. I'm just getting... Yeah, this is a used paper towel I've used before to wipe off. I did a lot of erasing, so when we erase, there is some residue that's left on the board, and you can feel it, and it can kind of start building up. So when you're to the point where you can really start erasing the graphite, it's not a bad idea to use the denatured alcohol and clean off the board. You'll feel a difference in how your tip runs over the wood, and you might actually see some improvement in how the wood is burning. So I keep my denatured alcohol in a jar marked and keep it away from everything. Don't go sniffing it. It's some strong stuff. Very quickly.
Don't drink it.
Oh God, no. It'll kill you. Just a little bit. That's all I need. I'm going to squeeze some out. I fold the paper towel in order for more areas to get wet, but not soaking wet. I don't want it soaking wet. So this is what it looks like when I get the paper towel wet, and we still have some dry area. I am going to first, we're going to have to be moving around, wipe off the dark area because it's going to pull carbon. This also allows us to see how dark see, and there we go, carbon right there.
Oh, Carmen says her Optima just entered into Canada. She doesn't have it yet.
I didn't think she would yet.
Oh.
Alright, so what we're doing, this is two folds. We're cleaning the board. It gets any oils from our hands off the board. It removes any of the eraser residue, but it also allows us to see all our light burns, approximately how dark they're going to be when we varnish, because when the wood gets wet from the varnish, which that's what varnish does, It darkens the grain. That's why you may, depending on the varnish you're using, you may have your wood going darker than you wanted it to, which is why I've spent many years testing and why I like the Liquitex varnish. But see, look at that. We can see if we lose any burn. And when we go over here, I'll be able to tell the best as to what. Ah.
You okay?
Yeah, I didn't hold on to the.
Oh.
So I'm just wiping it off. Gets rid of any. And unlike water, water raises the grain, but because it's alcohol, it dries very quickly, which is what keeps the grain from raising. And I just use a different part. I'm going to angle this down a little bit so we can clean off this part down here. See, now I can see right here how dark that is going to go. And it may actually go a little darker with the denatured alcohol. The wood may not get as dark, but this tells me what areas that are light that I need to darken just a little bit so that I can offset how this occurs. It cleans off any residual graphite that maybe you had a problem with. It might help a little tiny bit to clean off if you're using if you're not using graphite paper, if you're actually using carbon paper. But it's not going to be much. It really isn't, because carbon paper, once it's on the wood and heat gets anywhere near it, it melts into the grain. And short of sanding a whole bunch or a ton of overburn, it's just not going to work. It's always going to be there. It's permanently there. Alright, I need to clean off right here. And then I'm just moving around my paper towel. I'm not wetting it any more than it already is. This will dry out your hands, so if you're highly sensitive, I would recommend wearing gloves. And you will know that the wood is dry. Do not burn while the wood is wet. You'll know the wood is dry when it is no longer cool to the touch. And then you can start burning, which, unless you've soaked your rag or your paper towel, I like these thicker shop towels. It'll dry very quickly. So I can see, I'm looking at all my light areas. My paper towel is dried off really good, so. And now when I go back to erase any graphite, well, like I see graphite here, it'll actually be easier to erase it. So we'll go back in, and it helps remove, it helps if you go back in a second time and erase. I've been fighting this graphite line for the tree because I did push hard when I transferred, and it was a brand new cut off the graphite paper. So, oops, up we go. So between pushing a little harder and it's going with the grain and a new cut off of my big sheet of graphite paper, it is a stronger line. Go. If I have any left on my paper towel, just quickly wipe it off. We're not going to be working, I'm actually going to be flipping the board because we're working at the top and I can't stand the whole live because I did that last week, I think. I'm still really hurting, so I got to sit. There we go. I'm going to quickly flip this Don't get dizzy. Here we go. Oh, it's so big.
I'm dizzy.
And there. That's really how big this piece is. It's huge. Okay, so we are going to come down here. There is graphite here because I haven't finished laying in here. And we're going to angle you guys. And we are going to work on getting this blurry background in. I'm going to, because I was working in a higher heat, I'm going to quickly wipe off my 18 small just to get any carbon residue off. I don't have to scrub it because it doesn't need it. And I'm going to bump down to 1.5 because a lot of this is still raw. And it's going to burn darker. Oh, there we go. And down with the chair. Whee! Okay. Here I am situated. Oh, I need to flip the reference. I gotta remember to do that.
Yeah. You do those kind of mental gymnastics.
Yeah, I know I can work with the right side up photo, but I know others may have an issue, so it's just easier for me to quickly flip it. Let me look. So this is, we are flipping, there we go. Then I don't have to sit there and mess with everything. So we are working down here, or up here. And grab my phone for my reference. I'm not going to use, I don't think I need it too much, even though I'm still blocking in. These areas that I'm still blocking in is where, like, the tree is the lightest, but I do need to have sunburn in there. Alright, remember we got 2 levels of blur in here. So with the 18 small, I'm going to use the top half of the tip. Make sure you guys are angled. Do I need more light on here? Because
I don't think so.
Alright, we'll angle it. Just trying to make it where make sure you guys can see. There we go. And it's hard getting down down in this position. I'm going to throw my test board right here so I can just do a quick test. I know about 1.5 to 1. Touch down in a dark area. It's going to have to go darker anyway. And I'm going to, because I'm at an angle, so it's harder to get the pin down to go flatter, I am going to go ahead and bump down to 1. Pull some heat. And I'm as flat as I can be. And I'm just actually going to go over all the leaves. Let's see here, find a break in the leaves where I can. And go flat. This is all shapes. No detail. All shapes. Because I can dust on the white. And I really gotta get going on this.
When's the show?
Into February. I think it's February 22nd. Wanda.
Oh, what?
Confirm.
Yeah.
There's a lot more done than may feel like it. Because I was really darkening stuff. And I think what I'm going to do is do some erasing. Like I said, this area hasn't seen too much erasing. Because, I mean, I've worked here, obviously, but I don't think I'm going to pull this off the lip. Because I do have a lot of the sticks where they're going, I don't think I need to stress too much about it. I just need to start darkening things. So I'm gonna do some erasing, erase up against the tree. And we'll start seeing shapes come out that are lighter, and that's because it didn't burn there. I did a lot of negative burning. This is the tree right here. I gotta move my phone because I'm trying to hold the board, not bump the camera. And there we go. So I tend to start with this eraser first just to get stuff off, and then use the Vanish Form 1 4-in-1 eraser to really get in there. And if I feel like someplace maybe it's a little too crowded, or maybe there's a little too much information going on, this also allows me to make an adjustment in the moment. Plus, burning up against these lines, if they're lighter, they're easier to remove later.
Wanda confirms it's February 22nd.
22nd. So I need to have the burning part of this done. I would say like Valentine's Day.
Gotcha.
That way I can get it varnished and let it sit. So I got less than a month, but I've already... This was like the only area I hadn't fully finished blocking in, but I think overall actually I have, since I'm making these choices now. So I feel comfortable in removing the graphite. I'll do a little bit of burning, and then we can always wipe down. I'll be able to feel if there's too much residue.
Honda's been figuring out how to try and register and pay. The website doesn't tell you how to do it.
Okay, so there is a PDF, and I'll have to go look in after the live. I'll see if I can find it, and I can try to send it to you. It's on their website. You can prepay. You have to mail it into them, and I believe it's like check. It's not like a digital thing. Some things in the world have not been updated. I'll just say that. When we drop off on the 20th, and it tends to be a drop off between 11 a.m. and 3 a.m., but don't quote me. But that tends to be the Friday before the show. When you go to drop off, you can register then and pay then, and because you're going to get all your stuff when you drop off. You're going to get your participant ribbon that you wear so that they don't charge you coming in. The tags to put on your art, plus the other half of those tags to pick up your art. There we go. Wow, look at that. There's still some graphite on the board, but I think we're okay for now. So I'm not gonna, as I keep erasing, not gonna stress about it as I keep going. So I shall stop now. There we go. So we gotta remember, pen's been sitting, so it has fully regained any heat. Pull heat off by touching down in a dark area. Just kind of burn some, pull some heat, and then I'm going to angle flat. And I'm actually going to fill in the whole area, because like I said, I'm going to use the white pastel for the white limbs, because I can blend them out and do it in a gradient. If I use the pencil, the charcoal pencil, or color pencil, is going to be harsher than I want. And I want this to be, the white to be a dusting in these areas. So I'm going to fully just go. I'm on a low heat. I'm not trying to define any detail. And hopefully you can start seeing it pop out. But because I can from my angle, your guys' angle, not as much. I lifted, so touch down in a dark area. But actually going over areas that are going to be white keeps it from being a harsh line. I don't want to use the edge of the pen because that will give it a sharper look. I just want to go over the edge. And what I'm doing is getting a base burn in. And then I can slow down and go over some areas to darken. But this allows me to relax a bit and be able to adjust as I go. So I'm just going over everything. Bringing that line in. I know where the highlights are going to go because of my reference photo. So I'm just not going to stress about it. It's easier if I remove this added stress. And just put a base burn in. Without any major details. Like this one is going to be a stronger leaf. And there's already a stronger shadow up against it. Because it's overlapping another leaf. So I'm just going to darken that a little bit. Find some of the shapes in the background. And start darkening those. I am at times kind of angling my pen slightly and using the right leg because of how I'm sitting, and I can't move my board the way I would like. If I use the the right leg, I can still get into places without standing on my head. Oh no, I can't do that.
Wanda says thanks for the info.
Mm-hmm. I'll go looking for the registration after the live stream. They may not have it up quite yet. So where there is going to be white on some of these darker leaves I've already put in, I'm not going all the way to the edge, which is leaving a halo, which is fine. The big thing I need to do right now is to darken the background sky, because then I can just adjust the lights and darks. Like this is a darker stem. I'm not going to define it, so that means I'm just going to go over, quickly darken with just the tip. Do an oval stroke so I don't get any harsh lines. I don't want any harsh lines. For a blurry background, no harsh lines. So I'm just skipping around. Hopefully I'm still on camera. I need to look up, but I'm trying not to...
You're still on camera, but you're...
Am I getting up?
Getting kind of close to the top.
Oh, can you do me a favor and just move the camera up? Straight up? I'm trying to keep my pen on the board.
Trying?
Just... Okay, I can do it. Sorry.
I don't.
It was...
Sorry about that.
There we go. We'll do that. We'll come up here where I don't have to angle down so much. There we go. Alright. It wasn't your fault, the board and the... So I've got it off the lip now.
I tried.
So right here, I got a pretty good halo going on around the bear fur. So I'm actually going to go in between the bear fur. I'm flat. I'm moving quickly. I know I'm on a low heat setting at 1. But if I actually slowed down, it would go darker on the raw areas. And I will use that technique later. Alright. And see, these are darker leaves in the background that I can go out from the dark to blend them out and soften them up so they remain blurry. And I'm not even looking at the reference because right this second, I don't really think it matters. I'm just going over it and over it to see how it's blurring out because I'm not focusing on one area. So I'm going to go over this stem that is, I think it's white in the reference, which is why I skipped it, but I'm going to go ahead and go over it because I can always brush it in later with. And then I'll be able to quickly get to a point where I can wipe this area down with denatured alcohol. I could also use some sandpaper to pull back any burn if I wanted to lighten the board. In doing that, when you varnish, it is not going to be as bright white as you think because the raw wood, as we saw, darkens, which is one of the reasons that I spray my board with workable fixative first, because I have found in testing the workable fixative doesn't darken the wood like even say UV spray. There is a slight change in tint, but it's very slight. So I do a couple of coats of the workable fixative, whether I have added any color of any kind or not. And that's just to keep the wood lighter, to keep it overall lighter. That's my little hack that I found to keep my wood closer to what I want it to be, that that we get used to because we've been burning on it for so long. It can be a little off-putting for the wood to darken up because the wood's gotten wet, and that's the nature of wood with varnish. That's why I highly recommend, and I have it linked, the workable fixative and the varnish that I use down in the description on my Amazon page. It's Krylon. And I've had my spray can. I haven't bought a new spray can. I'm still using my original spray can because it doesn't take a lot. And this way, the wood doesn't darken as much, and when you go to brush on, especially if you haven't wiped off with denatured alcohol, there is going to be carbon that as you are varnishing brushes off of your dark area, especially if you've gone really dark. And if you're starting to see all of a sudden for some reason that the varnish looks a little tinted, a little brown, That's what's happening, is the carbon is being lifted because, again, you're putting something wet on the board, just like when I wiped off with denatured alcohol. Same thing. I put something wet on the board, the carbon lifted, and then it gets brushed around into your final burning. I know that's like, ugh, now I need to buy something else. And I hear you on that. But it will save you headache in the future. And I try to use products that you don't go through as quickly. So like with the Liquitex varnish, it does not take a lot of varnish at all. Meanwhile, I'm still just going over all the areas and just going flat ovals, trying to blend. I'm in blend mode right now.
So Carmen says it all looks confusing. She keeps watching, and the blurred out leaves are coming out to see where they're at. She can see them more now. As long as she looks at it from afar, she can make out the leaves and branches, which I think is really the point, right?
Mm-hmm. Don't focus on... I think you're over-focusing, because this background is meant to help support the bear, as in it's there, it's bringing a whole scene together, but it is not the main player. It is just a support. So don't sit there and try to figure out, because I'm not looking at the reference. I'm not even paying attention to my reference. I'm just darkening all over and getting a burn in all over. So I'm going over areas that maybe in the reference you would choose not to. So don't focus on the reference right now. I'm not using it. I'm just tinting the whole area. I'm just negative burning to pull out. See, we can see the lighter tree is right here that is closer to us because I've been darkening this.
She says, "Oh, you're starting to know me well."
Known you for a long time. Just don't focus on the reference. I flipped it just because it's there, but really, I'm not looking at it. I am currently not using it. I am just trying to blend. I am in blend mode, which means lower temperature, flat pen, quick oval strokes to start with. So don't even see right here where it's light. I'm going to go over it because I'm going to brush in the leaves with the pan pastels. So this is going to cut my time. This is going to cut my frustration. This is going to cut my confusion because it's easy to get lost in the pattern. It's going to cut all of that. Because ultimately...
It was weird.
What's wrong?
Your screen just flashed yellow for some reason.
I got a message.
Oh.
It's probably Carmen. If I had to guess, it's Carmen. You can click it. Drag down. Oh, it's Spencer. There you go.
Oh,
I don't know if he wants it read out loud. So just...
he says he's been watching from the beginning, but his chat isn't working.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, Spencer.
Hey, Spencer.
Good to have you with us. So, Spencer's been with us here, too.
Okay.
Spence over the fence.
Mm-hmm. So, yep. Don't focus on that. I'm doing this in a quick way in order to get moving on this piece. Just blur it, because we can still see some graphite that I'm going to have to pull. But right now, I need to stay focused on just blurring and darkening. And it's probably for the best I do it this way, because then I don't get over hyper focused on trying to get every single detail right, because in a blurry background, that doesn't matter. In fact, if you're so focused on trying to get all the details right, you will inadvertently push yourself out of doing a blurry background, because you will start over detailing. With a blurry background, it's just as what we say. It's blurry. It's a background. It is nothing but shapes and different tonal value, which, granted, that's what all burning is. But in this case, we don't want any details. So even here, where I've got a darker stick, I'm going over the line and blurring out and trying to make it where you don't know where one part of the line ends or begins, where it connects to other things, because it doesn't matter. Does not matter. So I'm just going over the lights as well. And as I darken the areas of the background that should be darkened, stay put with me, you will start seeing more and more shapes. But over here on this side, I just got too overly focused. I might actually have to do a little bit of sanding to pull some of it back, because I got too focused on doing a blurry background, so it got, I think, a little more detail than I want. We want it to be leaves without it being leaves. The brain will fill it in, so we don't need all that detail. This also means every part of the board is going to be burned. Some areas, more or less than the other, but and where leaves come over those darker areas, like right here, this stem is darker just because of the nature of a stem, whereas a leaf has light that goes through it, so it's not a fully opaque object necessarily. I need to lighten that shadow coming through so that when I put the light of the leaf on, it will look like the leaf is laying over the top of the branch.
Sonia says my bear head turned dark, so I'm glad to know about it.
Oh, about the varnish?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a balancing act, and I don't get paid by any product, so I don't have to worry about promoting anybody. I used Minwax for many years, and I stopped using them, let's see here, before the horse. And I chose to go with and test and use the Liquitex because it's actually made for artwork and it already has UV protection in it. So this is a lighter leaf and it's laying on top of other things, so I think I'm going to actually keep that lighter. And because I lifted my pen, what I'm doing is I'm coming down and having my pen already moving in the oval stroke. I can even blow on it before I touch down and I'm moving, so I don't get the dreaded blob. And then I can go up on my tip, still flat though, just more on the tip area, go in smaller strokes to darken smaller areas in between the grain to keep it smooth. Because with working with this grain, it really is coming through on areas of the burning. So I just darken that area. I've got graphite right here, but I'm gonna go over it. I can darken areas of the stick where it would be clear of anything laying on it and keep it lighter, so it's the opposite. For a blurry background to have different layers, it's kind of the opposite. The shadows are lighter in areas where something's laying on top of it, not darker. Hopefully I didn't just confuse everybody. Because normally a shadow is darker. But in an area where we're doing a blurry background and things are translucent, the shadow is actually lighter. So that means this would need to go darker, so I'll slow down. Not make a distinct line. But go lighter where anything would be laying on top of it. And I can go back and forth. I don't have to. Let's see here. I believe this is a stem right here. So right here I can go a little darker. It's standing out a little prouder. So we can go a little darker here, but then we've got this leaf here. So this area is lighter to this darker. And I know that can get confusing. So try to go with your lighter flat burn first, especially if you're getting lost, and just get it all blocked in. This is a lighter leaf right here, but it's throwing off the line of the tree. So I'm going to put a burn in, darken that up, and the tree falls behind it. Let's see here, where's the rest of the tree go? Trying to find it, because it's at an angle, just like this tree. So, touch down in an already burned area, because I lifted. And I need to bring these leaves out, because they are in front of the tree. There we go. Just making shapes, not being perfect, not caring what those shapes look like, just getting them in there. And the stem comes out a little bit right here, so I'm going to darken a little bit. There's a leaf over it, so I'm going to skip and bring this leaf out. Flat, just blending the burn out. And it is something you have to build up. We can make this a little darker. Got some leaf hanging over. So I'll just stick this area to darken. I'm burning all the way around it so that I can get rid of the halo, because I'm going to be hand drawing in the highlight.
Carmen says, I could see a trail a while ago, but I lost it. And she says, you might have moved your camera. And then I'm just letting you know you're getting kind of low to the right. If you go any further, you're going to be off camera.
Alright, I need to, because I do need to keep moving down. Let's go flat, straight, so you can see I mean, you guys know I've been burning. You've been watching me. Down here is more raw wood, down here versus here. So even though I'm on a light setting, it's still burning the wood. What I could do, so that I'm not trying to work down here on camera, is I can move over to this side. Because I've got some choices I need to make over here anyway. So why don't we do that? So this limb is in the front, is coming towards us. First we've got to erase because I've got a lot of the darks in. So we're going to do some erasing, and also this will help pronounce the tree. But looking at the reference, this tree branch is coming out and it's part of the main tree. It does need those details. And I went super dark on this tree over here. And I'm trying to decide if I am happy with that. And I've got a leaf that's supposed to be hanging out here. I don't know that it's working visually.
Carmen says, there's the tree.
It's here. Alright, let's get as much as we can get off. I've already erased in this area though a couple of times. So it may come down to needing to wipe, but I'll wait. Alright. Use the other eraser just to pull some more. It also helps to pull out some of the other erasers' residue, even though it probably leaves its own. So I actually went pretty dark on this side. This is the first area I started working on. So now I have to get some areas of the other side just as dark in order for it to balance out. Alright. I don't know if I've pulled enough graphite, but we will go with it. Sorry, Morgan. Alright, I'm gonna stay at 1. Touch down in an area I've already burned flat. Bring you guys in because I moved the board. There we go. And I'm just gonna go flat. I can still see some graphite, so I can actually go a little darker in some areas to help blur out. All of this has to go darker. I think in some areas I may have given too much attention that I need to pull back. Like this tree branch is coming off of this one and coming back towards the camera, so it should have more detail. In fact, I can go over it. I'm trying to stay flat. I can be a little uncomfortable on the wrist. So the angle of your easel that you're hopefully using may need to be adjusted. There we go. Just trying to define the tree line a little better. just flat. If some areas get a little darker because of the nature of the wood, I don't care. It helps lend to the blurriness. So this right here is background sky in between leaves. But I need to go up over the leaf to not have that harsh line. It's going to get put back in, so I don't need to stress over it. Just make it go back. Anytime we start burning an area, it kind of pushes it back, because that's the nature of lights and darks. We can always pull it forward later. Sorry, I had to readjust. So this can go darker. And there's some light hitting it. So I'm trying to just drag. I'm still on the same heat setting. Just a little darker. And then go flat again. That's a light leaf in the back. But this will also allow me to be able to see what needs to have a bit more white. And maybe a leaf doesn't get 2 coats of white. Maybe it just gets 1, because with pastels, the white, whether it's chalk, pastels, any dry medium like that, colored pencil even.
Carmen would like you to move your reference photo. She can't see where you're at.
I'm down here at the bottom on the other side. The branch is... That's the full size of the photo, so if I move it, we'll lose it.
Well, you're like right by the bear's right ear. Left ear.
Let's see here.
You're right above the bear's left ear. Wait.
No, right
No,
here.
right here.
I can go a little bigger this way, since we're not working on the bottom. I can do this. How's that? Is that a little better? Because we're all down, all of this is down here. So there's the dark tree branch. Remember, I added things, so you may not find some of this stuff. But down here, this is the branch that's sticking out.
Because she can't find the branch you're working on.
This right here, I added.
So that's why she can't find it.
That's why you can't find it.
Spence says apparently his old iPad doesn't want him to see chat.
Oh.
Technology. Burl's here.
Hey, Burl. Meanies. This is the tree branch that's right here in the reference.
Burrow coming in under the wire. 6 minutes left.
In fact, I can darken this while we're here because it needs to go darker. So I'm rolling I'm going flat as I can, and rolling onto the right leg. Flat, not the edge. Flat. So that I can go up and down. And darken this tree branch at the middle and the bottom. Even though I'm on one, I can still darken. So I'll keep bumping this tree branch up and defining it more, because it's a major player. It is a part of the details. And this is the branch that's coming off. Should go darker on this side. Anyway, so this needs to go darker. Right now, we're just going to keep going flat, staying focused. I'll try to stay in this area so we can build it up. And then still see graphite that I need to remove. There's a bunch of leaves in here. This is a lot of leaves.
Spence likes burning trees when he actually burns.
Yeah, I wish he was burning more. Well, because they're less pressure. You don't have to worry. As long as it looks like a tree, you have achieved a tree. I think we overthink things too much. And I'm trying to be better about it myself. I definitely include myself in that statement. Or, I guess it could be all about me, because I am really bad about that. I'm trying not to be. I need to erase. There's a lot there. A lot more than I want to go over.
Burl says we burn trees half the year. Not like that, Burl. Wah, wah, wah.
That was a dad joke.
The Canadian dad joke.
Canadian dad joke.
Ooh, we burn trees half the year, eh?
He didn't forget the A. Alright. Oof. Alright.
My whole house smells like maple syrup.
That's not a bad smell.
No.
That's a lucky smell. Alright, there we go. There we go. Got a little nauseous for a moment. Sorry, guys.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Well, we're coming up on an hour. How much longer do you want to go?
Well, let's see if we have any more questions while I'm doing this.
Okay.
For a realistic blurry background, let's do some recapping while we wait. You don't want any defining lines. The defining lines will completely overshadow your blurry background unless you have made sure to have multiple distances in your blurry background. Then some of it may need to have a little bit more detail than the other in order for the realism to fully show itself. Do you realize? See, I don't. This is a leaf.
Burl says I'm going to be muttering about that all day. You don't know me, Burl. She's right.
She's right. This is the center of the leaves. I'm trying to decide if I just went a little... Some of it could be limbs coming through. The reference photo does not exist in that it did not occur. That is not the original photo. I created the reference photo, which does give us a little leeway on what's what. I think I'm going to remove this leaf right here, and just all I have to do is a flat burn, so then it becomes sky. And boom, that leaf is gone. Now when I go and put the white on, which I'm not going to do right now because the white pastel, you really shouldn't burn on it. Needs to be what occurs last. And because of the workable fixative and how it adds a little bit of tooth, that's the purpose of it really, for graphite drawings, color pencil drawings, what have you. It adds tooth to paper, so it'll add a little tiny, tiny roughness to the board. But we can use that, spray a coat or two of workable fixative, once it dries, let it cure, and apply in some areas more white pastel. You'll then get two different brightnesses and layers of the white pastel that helps go along with your blurry background. It works together. because maybe one leaf is brighter, but not as bright as the other leaf. Using the workable fixative allows you to get different layers of brightness, because white, dry media white, tends to look like it disappeared. I'm trying to think of the term. There's a term for it. There's a specific term. I'm trying to grab my bottle. It's far away. Get me a bottle. I have a dog in the way. We can back out. I'm going to back out while I grab my bottle. My spray. But we stayed right here. You can see how much the tree started to pop out. How the lights make a difference. Here we go. Ow. There's a specific word I'm looking for. Doesn't look like I have my Liquitex varnish in here. In the wintertime, I don't varnish in my studio, so that I have to varnish in the house.
Carmen's asking, so adding the pastel is to be the very last thing to do?
Yes. Always, 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 always. This is what I use. There's a word I'm looking for.
What?
That white dry media does, and what we're trying to avoid. It's not fade, it's not lighten.
Bleach?
No, it's not anything like that. It's on my Liquitex bottle, that's why I'm looking for an extra bottle. Maybe I should just pull it up on the internet. It'd be quicker than me trying to look around. Let's see. Liquitex varnish. I use gloss because gloss has the least amount of additives to it. And it's easier to view your burning from different angles with gloss than it is with satin, matte, and semi-gloss. Each layer has more and more additive that's meant to cut the gloss down. And when that occurs, how the light hits the wood is also interrupted. So I have found that viewing from like walking onto a burning, like up to it, so you're at the side of it, when there's a varnish that is less than gloss, not less than, but that has less gloss, it cuts the viewing angle, so you don't start seeing the burning until you're more right up on it. And I've tried to get a camera to pick that up, but it's hard to pick up. There's a word I'm looking for. And that word is... what?
Frumulous.
No.
But it's a good word.
But that's not the word.
You know what another good word is?
What?
Hamburger.
Hamburger.
Don't you want a hamburger?
I do. Blah, blah, blah. I'm looking, I'm reading. And the Liquitex also doesn't smell. I appreciate that very much. It's water-based, non-yellowing. With regular wood varnishes, they recommend only up to like 4 layers, because then it can start degrading the varnish. With Liquitex, you can put as many as you want. Because again, it's meant for art. It's meant for paint and what have you. But it works really well for us. And it dries hard. Or finish is hard. And don't use a sponge brush. Use a regular brush. White pastel, when it gets sprayed with any kind of varnish, the best way I can explain it, because I can't find the word, I'll hopefully have it for next week, it almost looks like it disappeared, and you have to move your board until you can, there's like one particular angle you'll be able to see it, and that is because that's the nature of white pastel or white dry media. Let's see, white. And I found with the workable fixative, you have less going on, plus you can add more before you go to your final varnish. But if you do a couple of sprays, so you put your white pastel on, boop, 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 it's on, do your couple of sprays, if you want to add more because you've now seen that it's not as bright white as you wanted it to be, you can put some more on, but then you had to put another spray or two of the workable fixative to fix that to the wood, and then put your varnish on. I am very quickly Googling the problems of white with varnish. It dissolves it. That I'm looking. Dissolves. That's not the word I was looking for, but that is what it's doing. It dissolves it, so it's not as bright. And using the fixative helps calm that down. And for white pastel, recommend not to use a harsh solvent-based varnish with it. It can also lose detail. Maybe that's the term I was looking for, losing detail. So with the workable fixative and the Liquitex, the white pastel looks better.
You know, yeah, because it what happens is that it diffuses it a little bit.
Maybe diffuse was.
Well, no.
Yeah, but it dissolve is the correct term. I'm just saying
that's what happens.
Yeah.
It makes it. It diffuses. So if you have like a tight line, for instance, because I've seen that in my own work. So if you have like a really tight line, or some sharp detail, it will soften it quite a bit
because it's dissolved.
And if
a little bit,
and that can be nice if that's something that you want, because if you have an area that's got like a sharp color delineation, that when you use that media, it will blend those two areas together. But that may be something that you don't want, and it will definitely change the appearance of it. So before you do that, if you're going to use those things, like I would definitely experiment with it.
Yeah, test it.
Because you might like that as like an abstract effect.
It may work for one of your pieces,
but not if you're trying to like preserve detail. So
the workable fixative, because it's mild, allows you. It helps protect the white. You will still need to reapply some for the brightest whites, but because it's workable fixative, you can, and the pastel will adhere to it. So you have to kind of build up the white pastel. to get that bright white if that's what you're looking for in an area. But always make sure to in that layer with some workable fixative on top before you brush on your varnish. Because if not, you will wipe away that last layer of white that you applied.
Yeah. And you never want to put it on a hamburger.
Never want to put it on a hamburger. I know what you're doing.
H to the A to the hamburger.
There's something I do want to show since I've been talking about the workable fixative and I need to do a video on this. It's a test board that I did a couple of years ago for a specific product that I haven't gotten done, but the test board's done. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I have it upside down so that it doesn't get exposed any further.
Spence says looks good, Val.
There you go. Alright, I haven't even pulled. This is what happens when your stuff's not protected. I was testing watercolor pencils. So you can see how the wood darkened. And this has just got regular varnish on it. This, see here. This right here, this area, this lighter strip was just workable fixative. And this was in the window for a year and a half. Which is why it's hard to get this tape off. And this was in an east-facing window.
You mean to do it?
In northern Arizona, it gets a ton of sun and has less atmosphere to go through. And I was testing different ways because these are a cheap watercolor pencil. And I was not only testing the watercolor pencils themselves and their light fastness, of which I knew they were going to fade because they're not artist level watercolor pencils, but I also I did testing to see how to protect them if that's all you can afford. So that's why there's so much. Alright, there's some glue left. Darn it. I had to wipe that off with something. Anyway, this light strip right here has workable fixative and shows you how much the wood didn't darken compared to, this is UV spray here. Let's see here, where are some of the other areas? Let's see. Maybe I've got a better test line right here. Looks like I need to do a video and pull all these off.
We're barely seeing that on camera.
Okay.
You showed it for a little bit, but
there we go.
There, thank you.
There we go. So this is raw wood that's protected by the tape, so you can see how that didn't darken up. This has got varnish on it. You can see how much the wood darkened up. This has workable fixative right here on this area. This is UV spray on this area. So you can see the difference with how much the workable fixative doesn't darken like other varnish to raw wood. This is tape that I'm going to have to scrape off or try to get off. So that's what that test was.
So that light strip, that's not the actual wood, that's tape?
No, yeah, this is actual tape right here. This is the light
I
wood.
thought that was the original raw wood.
No, this right here is the original raw wood here.
Okay.
This is tape that I'm going to have to try to work to get off. This is UV spray wood. So we can see how much it didn't darken the wood compared to the UV. So that's UV sprayed right there. I'm trying to look. I think this had workable on it. It's a little lighter. I have to go back to the video that I did film for this to know what I did. But I know that wasn't sprayed because I was curious to see how much the wood darkens with and without workable fixative and the UV spray and what have you. UV spray darkens the wood. So yeah, I did it went in the window May of 2022. And I pulled it from the window February of 24. Because I did write it down. That way I knew. So I did write it down. And I've been keeping it upside down so it's still not getting exposed. So anyway, we can talk more about that later. I'm going to put in the white with white so I can get going. I need to build up the layers, but we can see right here compared to here. I guess that's a better comparison of how much I did burn and push back. It also allowed the tree to come forward. So we can see the difference of just how a little bit of burning can change things, but I can add different layers of white to bring forth any of the leaves that are brighter in the camera while keeping a blurry area. Hopefully, and that way it also makes it go faster. Because down here, we can see the difference between the two here. And all this needs to go darker. I have not worked on this area yet. Since the board's upside down, this week I'll work on this area. That way I don't have to keep flipping. Plus it allows me to get to the bear that I have been darkening. Let's see here. Since he's upside down, maybe the light hitting it a little different we'll be able to see. But look at that. We can see, based on the reference photo, just how much darker he needs to go. All right here. And I've been doing it. Again, this was last week's. Let's see here. Hopefully I pop up the right photos. That's where I ended last night. That's where we ended after the live last week. So I am darkening the head. It just is coming along slowly. Alrighty, so let's pop that off. You know what to say with me. You're awesome. You can do this. Why? Because you're a pyro artist. Happy burning, guys. Clean your tips.
Hamburger.
Hamburger. Bye-bye.
Anything to say?
No, don't get them barking.